Ever heard of a bead tip? I'm going to show you how to use one today. Hello, welcome back. My name's Carol. Last week I did a live workshop and I used a bead combination for a necklace that I just loved. Now, I didn't want to absolutely recreate that exactly the same because I did it for that workshop, but what I wanted to do is take those same beads and create something else using that same combination. So that is what I'm up to today. Now, if you've been following along on my community tab, you will know that I am going to be starting a membership soon, and in that membership area I will be doing my own lives, so that's really exciting. Also, before we start with the necklace, I wanted to say a huge thank you to you for your comments. I was speaking with a friend of mine just before and she was saying that she was having a hard time getting inspired, and I was thinking about how much it inspires me to get your comments daily. It is wonderful. It keeps me going and helps me get those creative juices flowing. So thank you so much. Keep it up. All right, so the necklace we're making is using some large teardrops, which I bought a little while ago and I absolutely love them. They are a beautiful color. So this is what they look like. Now these are 22 by 13, so they are quite large and they're faceted glass. They are absolutely stunning. And I'm going to be using quite a few of those today because you know me, I like to overdo things. As well as that, I have on my bead board here, and you'll see that I've already laid out my necklace. So what I have here is I've got some hematite beads. Now these ones are a little rondelle and they measure 4 by 3. I have some of my favorite little 3mm silver ball beads. And I've got some hematite bicones as well, and these ones are 6mm. And I've interspersed the entire necklace all the way down to here with the 3mm balls. Now remember that I will leave you a link in the description box below to a blog post which contains everything that you need. So it will have links to all of the supplies that I've used, as well as step-by-step instructions for you. So remember, that's the top link in the description box below if you're looking for what I've used. All right, as well as that, I've used some check glass beads. These ones are a fire polished faceted bead and they are 6mm. And these ones here are very special. I love these beads. Now this is a check glass fire polished lamp bead, and you can see that it looks like it has a bead cap on either end. And I really love those ones. I use them a little bit and I really do like them. I use them in my check glass earrings tutorial. So I'll leave you a link up the top for that one and down below in the description box if you're interested in checking that one out. As well as that, I've got some faceted rondelles and the color there is blue black. Isn't it fabulous? And I've got these check glass turbine beads, and you've seen me use these before. I use them in my bohemian necklace. They're fabulous as well. So that's all the beads that I have, and as well as that, I'm going to be using this connector. This one measures 24 by 34, so quite large, and it has 5 holes or 5 loops for linking, as well as the top one. What else do I have? I have some chain here. Now I've already pre-cut my chain and I've stuck it on a head pin here so that you can see. So what I have there is 4 pieces that measure 9 lengths and 1 piece that measures 11 lengths. I didn't want to cut my chain on camera because it's stainless steel. It's really hard and it goes flying when you cut it. So I just didn't think I should do that. I might hit you in the eye. So I cut it off camera, but I have 5 pieces, and what I do actually when I cut it, I'll just show you this quickly. So what I do is I get my piece of chain and I pop it on a head pin, just like that. And then I get the end of my chain and I pop that on the head pin next to it. So if I hang it like that, I can actually see which link to cut, and I just come in with my cutters and snip it. So that works really well for me. This chain, the links measure 4 by 3mm, so it is quite a small link chain, and it's a stainless steel chain, as I said, so quite hard to cut. Okay, as well as that, what else have I got? I've got some 6mm jump rings, I've got some 8mm jump rings, I've got a couple of extra of my little balls and a couple of extra of my rondelles and my turbine beads. I have a lobster clasp, I've got some bead tips, which I'm going to show you how to use, and I've got a couple of crimp beads, and I've got some tiger tail. I've also got some 22 gauge silver wire, and that is half hard wire, my connector and my bead stopper. As well as that, I'm going to need my 2 pairs of chain nose pliers. I'm going to need my round nose pliers and also my flush cutters. As I said, the first thing I did was lay out my beads, and basically this is the necklace that I made for the live workshop, except that it had a teardrop in the middle, and it was really simple. I really wanted to do something more for this, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to put this aside for a minute because we are going to make the center part first using our connector. First, I'm going to take one of my 8mm jump rings and I'm going to open it. Just taking my 2 pairs of chain nose pliers and holding it one on either side. Now, if you haven't used jump rings before, I will leave you a link in the description box and a card up the top for a video all about how to use jump rings. So basically what I'm going to do is hold it on either side here in my pliers, and I'm going to twist one hand down holding the other one steady, and that opens my jump ring. Now I'm going to take one of my teardrops and I'm going to feed it on, and the holes are quite small, but this jump ring does go through it. And as well as that, I'm going to take my longest piece of chain, which happens to be that one, the second one, and I'm going to pop that onto the jump ring as well. So I find it easiest to hold the jump ring in my pliers and dangle the chain until I can find the end piece or the end link and thread it on that way. Now I'm going to take my pliers and reverse that to close up the jump ring, so just pushing up. Now, not sure if you can see that, but it's not closed properly. So to close it, what I do is I twist my hand down again, and as I come back up, and it might take me a few tries because these jump rings are quite hard, they're made from stainless steel, I just push towards the other side until it's closed. And you can kind of feel it when it grates together. So there is my first dangle for my centerpiece. Okay. Now I'm going to take one of my 6mm jump rings and I'm going to open it. Well, this one is actually already open, which is kind of nice. And I'm going to thread on the opposite end of the chain. So that link there. And then I'm going to put it through the bottom loop of my connector. Now sometimes when you buy these connectors, the loops might not be quite open. They might just have a little bit of metal in them. So you can just push a piece of wire backwards and forwards through it and that will clear the hole out. Now I'm going to close this jump ring up, just like I did with the other one. So there is the center part of my center focal. So I just pop that there. Now I'm going to make the dangles that connect onto either side of this, and I'm going to use some wire to do that. So just taking my 22 gauge wire and finding the end, there it is, and I'm just going to cut a piece off. Just straightening it out. Now I do need to make a loop in either end of this wire. So I could use my round nose pliers. In fact, I'll show you that first and then I'll make the rest with my one-step looper. Just double checking that I have a flush cut, which I can't see, so I'm going to just trim it. And then I'm going to take my wire in the jaws of my chain nose pliers about 1 centimetre from the end. And I am going to just bend that wire to a right angle like that. Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers, turning the wire around so that this tail is facing me. I'm taking my the tip of the wire in the jaws of my round nose pliers and just making sure it's not sticking up. I am going to twist my hand away from me, then I'm going to release, put the pliers back in and twist again until that tail meets the stem of the wire. Now, if you haven't made loops before, or if you have trouble with loops, I have a video on how to perfect your loops, and I will leave a link in the description box and up the top here for the video for that one. All right, so now I've got my loop. What I'm going to do is put on my turbine bead. Actually, no, before I do that, I'm going to put on one of my little 3mm beads, my turbine, and a rondelle, and another one of my 3mm beads. So that is what I have now, and I'm going to use my one-step looper to make the loop in the end. Now, if you've been around for a while, you know how much I love my one-step looper, and I do use it all the time. Someone actually asked me last week in a comment why I didn't use it on the earrings that I made, and it was just simply because I didn't, no particular reason. So there is my component now with its loops. Now with this one, what I want to do is make sure that my loops are actually going in opposite directions. So I want one facing straight and one facing up. So that's what I'm going to do. Just hold them in my pliers like that and press my hand down so that one of my loops is, basically my loops are going in opposite directions. There we go. So I need another one of those, but I will get to that in a minute. First, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with it. So I'm going to take one of my 8mm jump rings, and I'm going to open it. I'm going to feed on one of my teardrops, and the bottom of this component. Now the bottom is the one closest to the turbine bead. And now I'm going to close up that jump ring. So that's what I have now. And now I'm going to connect it to my component using one of my 6mm jump rings. So this one also is open. So just feeding on the top loop of the component, and then I'm taking it and feeding on that bottom loop of my connector, bottom right one, and closing that up. So that's what I have now. Now I'm going to repeat that for the other side. So there's my third dangle all connected. Next, what we're going to do is make some for either side. And we're going to do that using some chain. So taking another teardrop and another 8mm jump ring. And I'm popping that one on, and this time I'm putting on one of my shorter pieces of chain. This is basically a repeat of the center, and closing up that jump ring. So that is what I have. Now I'm going to use another jump ring, and I'm going to put it on this side, and a 6mm jump ring, and I'm going to attach it to this top loop in the connector. So just opening my jump ring, feeding on the end link of the chain, and feeding it onto this top loop of the connector here. and closing the jump ring. So that's what I have, and obviously I need to repeat this for this side. Okay, so that is what I have now. I've got my chain dangle, my dangle with its beads, my other chain dangle, my center one, which remember the chain is longer than for these ones, another beaded dangle, and my other chain dangle. So that's my centerpiece. So what I'm going to do next is make another one of each of these, these chain ones, and they're going to go onto my necklace here. So taking another one of my 6mm jump rings, 8mm jump rings, and opening the jump ring. And on goes one of my teardrops and the end link of a piece of chain. And closing up that jump ring. And then I'm going to put a 6mm on the other end. And just make sure this jump ring is really, really well closed, because you're going to be stringing it onto a piece of tiger tail, so you want to make sure that it's not going to fall off. And when I'm closing my jump rings, I like to check them from the top as well, just to make sure that they're sitting really well. Not sure if you can see that that's nicely closed. So there is my dangle for my necklace, and I'm going to make another one of those. There's one other thing I have to do before we can start stringing this necklace, is I need to put a 6mm jump ring onto the top of my connector so that I can string it onto the tiger tail as well. So just taking another jump ring, opening it, this is a 6mm, and threading on the loop of my connector, the top loop, and closing up that jump ring. And once again, because it's going to be on a piece of tiger tail, I want to make sure it's really well closed. Just double checking it from the top. So there you go, and it's got its jump ring on the top. So that's actually going to go in the center. Now we're going to grab some tiger tail and we're going to start stringing this necklace. I want to give myself plenty to work with, so I'm cutting probably about 1/2 metre, which is 50 centimetres. I don't know how much that is in inches, but enough. So I've cut about 50 centimetres of my tiger tail. Now I'm going to put my bead stopper on the end. If you haven't seen a bead stopper before, it's a little spring and it's got little handles. You squeeze it open, pop your tiger tail or other stringing material in, don't drop it, and then it holds everything nice and firm so that your beads don't fall off. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to string the beads from this direction all the way around until I get to here, and then I'm going to put my dangle in between the faceted rondelle and the turbine bead. Then I'm going to put my centerpiece between these two bicones, and my other dangle, which I've left over here, is going to go in there. just like that. Okay, so to string a necklace, if you haven't done this before, all you do is just pick the beads up and string them on. So just thread the tiger tail through the hole. Now, if you haven't used tiger tail before, this is an amazing material. It's made out of 19 strands of very fine wire, which have been twisted together and coated in nylon. So it's very, very strong. You couldn't break it if you tried. So it's a really good material for stringing necklaces, obviously. Okay, so just threading the beads on, and we're going to go all the way to the center, and we're going to go all the way around and thread on those dangles as we go. Now, if you are interested in making the jewellery that I'm wearing today, I have on my blue and green bracelet here, and I can leave you a link for the tutorial for that one. And I've also got on my heart tassel earrings, and I'll leave you a link for the tutorial for that one as well. So I've strung my beads. I didn't think you needed to watch me do that because it's pretty boring. So here is my necklace so far, and you can see that I have the dangles on either side of those turbine beads. I love this. Isn't it looking amazing? All right, so let's put a clasp on this necklace. Now, if you've been watching for a while, you know that I love my magical crimping tool. But I'm not using it today. I'm going to show you a different way that you can crimp a necklace and cover up that crimp bead. And I'm not using a crimp cover either. Because if you've been watching, you also know that they are my kryptonite and I hate them. So what we're going to do is use a bead tip. Now this is a bead tip, and basically it allows you to put the crimp bead inside there, and they're much nicer to use than the crimp covers. Okay, so I am right-handed, so I'm going to put the clasp, the lobster clasp, on my right side so that it's easier for me to do up with my right hand. So making sure that my necklace is the right way round first, that's a good way to start. I'm going to take off my bead stopper, and I'm going to feed on first the bead tip. These are also called Carlotta clamps, if you can't find them called bead tips. Now I'm going to just, it has a little hole in the, I didn't show you that, it has a little hole in the bottom here. And so all I did was thread my stringing material through that. And that is what it looks like when it's strung on. Now I'm going to put on my crimp bead. I personally like to go fishing for my crimp beads rather than picking them up and trying to poke them on. And what I mean by that is I lay them down on my mat here, and I go fishing with them for them with the tiger tail. Okay, so there's my crimp bead on. Now I don't want to push that all the way down because otherwise it'll be too close to the other end. So there we go. There's my crimp bead on there. If you haven't used crimp beads before, I will leave you a link in the description box and up the top here for a video on 3 different ways to crimp, and this is not one of them. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, just holding my tiger tail, I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm just going to squish my crimp bead flat. And that is exactly what crimp beads are designed to do. So there you go. Now just test it and make sure that it's not going to move, which mine isn't. And then you can come in and cut off your tiger tail really close. I know this feels really scary, but believe me, it's as long as your crimp bead's not going to move, it's fine. So I've chopped off my tiger tail, and that is what I have, my crimp bead right at the end of my wire. Now I'm going to take this bead tip, and I'm going to bring it up so that my crimp bead is sitting inside there. Then I'm going to use my fingers and squash it. Now I can't get it all the way with my fingers, but I can get it a little way, and then I'm going to take my pliers and very gently I'm going to close that up. So that is what I have now. Then I'm going to take my clasp and I'm going to feed that onto that little hook part of the bead tip. Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to put them inside that little loop, and I'm going to twist it down so that it touches the other side. So there it is, and that's what it looks like on the side. So you can see there it's nicely closed, it's all enclosed in that loop, and it's not going anywhere, and my clasp is moving freely. So that's one end done. So that was easy, wasn't it? Now I'm going to just run my beads up to the other end, and I'm going to put another crimp bead on this end. So taking my bead stopper off and going fishing. No, before I do that I have to put my tip on, bead tip. So threading it through the hole, just like I did before. There we go. And this time I want to make sure there's no gaps between my beads, and I'm going to feed on my crimp bead, just go fishing for it. It doesn't want to be caught, this one. Nope, sometimes they do that. There we go. And this time I want to run it down. Everything's caught up. I want to run it down so that it's sitting inside that cord tip before I squeeze the crimp. And the reason for that is I don't really want any space. Now you don't want it too tight so that your beads can't move, because you still need a little bit of movement in your necklace, but you do want it reasonably close. So now I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to take them. Now if you need to, you can actually open your bead tip a little bit more, and I'm going to do that. Just going to pull it open a little bit more and maneuver it into place. I'm putting my pliers inside there somewhere, and I'm going to give my crimp bead a squeeze, and I'm just going to check it. Feels nice and secure. That's what I have. And now I'm going to chop off my tiger tail once again. Not scary because I know it's secure. And then I'm going to squeeze them together. And just give it that final squeeze with my pliers. Just to make sure everything is nice and firmly closed. Could use a little bit more maybe, so I might just give it a little bit more of a squeeze. There we go. Now I want to put my jump ring on here, but before I do that I just want to double check that my jump ring is closed, which it is. Now I'm going to feed it onto that loop, and I'm going to take my round nose pliers and close it up, making sure that I catch my jump ring in the middle. There you go. And there it is. And that's what my clasp looks like. Doesn't that look lovely? It's nice and neat, professional looking. It's all tidy and tucked away inside those bead tips. So there's my necklace. It's all done. Don't you just love the bead combination there? I think it's wonderful. All the dark black and blues. It's just amazing. Now remember, I will leave you a link to a blog post in the description box below, which contains links to all of the materials that you need to make this necklace, and also step-by-step instructions if you would rather follow along that way. Remember also to subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you won't ever miss a tutorial, and also give me a thumbs up on this video if you liked it. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for watching today. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.